There's two great days in your life: the day you were born and the day you figure out why.
Nine, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We have ignition.
All right, we're back.
All right, we're recording.
Yeah, take 6.
That's all right. We're in it together. We're in it to win it.
Yeah, Kyle and I have been getting the kinks out of the whole podcast studio. We were here like a month ago and we recorded for an hour.
Yeah, we tried. Hey, man, we tried. Yeah. Goggins and I were working on this whole thing. I'm in it for the long haul, so I appreciate Goggins does all the technology. I just show up. Anyway, so, we wanted to sit down. We wanted to do a few things, maybe a little interview, and then just have some fun. But, from my end, so Kyle Lombardi here, talking to Matt Goggins. I wanted to ask the CEO of Rest Period Podcast kind of where his ideas came. Why did he want to develop a podcast? And he basically developed a studio. I kind of want to know where that came from. Why is that the step he took? And kind of, where does it go from here? So I know he has some thoughts on this, but we're just going to go through some interview questions like that. So Goggins, if you could respond to that.
Yeah, good question. So why the hell are we sitting in a podcast studio right now? Yeah. That's a good question. Because it's fun. I think it's just fun. I mean, we touched on this. We made a few episodes last year, obviously, just recording in my basement. But Kyle, I've been training with Kyle for a couple of years, and we always just talked about random stuff, and it was always just fun to talk about and then joke about we should make a podcast. And I always listen to. I mean, I'm a software engineer. I spend so much time sitting at my computer, and just listening to whatever different podcasts are out there. And obviously I like all the same stuff everyone else does, right? The Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, and just listening to people chat about whatever's on their mind. And I thought it would just be fun to do. And so got the equipment. Then, Kyle and I and Isaac started just making stuff. And it was always fun to just sit down and talk and just do it in a way that was just low stress and for fun. And then I got an office here, so I was let's just get some stuff and throw it in there. And then just start sitting down every now and again and recording stuff. So we're trying to just do that and just have some fun and talk about whatever we think is interesting, and yeah, just a fun hobby.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's awesome. That's it's just cool because people, they don't know the whole background, but Goggins basically came up with this idea. Isaac and I obviously are part of it as well, but I would say Matt is the one that kind of, took it from the start and kind of pushed the idea. And, with that, I'm sure there's some ups and downs, right? There's a level of commitment. There's everything that goes with that, but he deserves a lot of credit because this would not be a thing if he didn't try to start something, right? So, and every CEO goes through this, but Goggins, what have you experienced in the last 2 months? Because I know you got a job as well, but did it kind of clarify what this is for you? Because, obviously you have some other stuff you're doing. Did it kind of help you see what it is, right? In the short term, but also help you hey, what's the long term of what you want to do with Rest Period and where you want to go with it?
Yeah, I think we're all still figuring that out. It's any idea, there's the North Star vision, right? When we were talking about this, it's think about whatever, Joe Rogan's life, and it just sounds like so much fun, just train all day, talk to your friends in front of a mic and just make, just get interesting ideas and thoughts out in the world. and just have fun with it. Like I mean, who doesn't want to do that? Like that's just kind of a fun lifestyle. And like, that's not just going to appear out of thin air though. Like when we first made our first rest period episode, we were like texting each other the first episode Joe Rogan made, and it was like terrible. It was him in front of an old PC, just recording himself. And, it's kind of just like having that mentality of like, look, it's going to be terrible for a long time. No one's going to watch, but you just got to have fun with it. And just like, if you're making stuff that you're enjoying, like the creative process of recording and just hanging out with your friends and just seeing if anything catches on, like that in and of itself is like just a fun way to spend your time. So why not? And I think like we have, it's like everybody, I have like this these visions of like, oh, it'd be so cool if you could just have a show where you like had people on you that were interesting and like interviewed them and talked, and just kind of kept up with what's going on in the world through your own lens. But that's like a ton of work. So it's like, how do you get there? It's like if you want to do an Ironman or you want to, whatever your biggest dream is, right? Like you're not just going to get up and go do it. You're going to spend so many hours on a treadmill, on a bike, just whatever, trying to keep your mind occupied while you build towards that goal. And so I think the whole rest period thing, and also just like a lot of my career personally right now is like in that chapter of like growth and development and building, where it's like I'm 30 years old. I've been working for 10 years, but I realize there's many more decades, if I'm lucky, ahead of just grinding and working hard and like finding the right balance. And so, yeah, it's all about just like enjoying that grind and just accepting it and embracing it and being like, all right, well, if we want to make a podcast where like one day we actually have a following and we have like program topics and we have cool guests and we're going around doing fun stuff, that's a great vision, but you're not just going to wake up and hit a button and have that all happen, right? Like you're going to spend a lot of time developing everything that needs to get to where it's got to be to where you can actually do that effectively. So yeah, like right now we're in a chapter of like, hey, I bought all this stuff and threw it in a room and we have it. And now it's like, all right, what are we going to do with it? Like who wants to come tinker with it and play with it and make stuff and come up with ideas to talk about and just like have a good time. And then, you got to edit it. You got to do all this stuff. So yeah, it's a journey. And right now it's just fun to have the equipment and play with it and talk about like things we could record down the road or like topics we could discuss and adventures we could go on, all that stuff. So
Yeah, you're kind of in the treadmill stage of business, right? You're the one doing a lot.
Yeah.
You're editing. And people don't know this about podcasts. I mean, I know Goggins is doing some editing behind the scenes that no one sees. He doesn't talk about it a lot, but it's a lot of work on top of his real job and everything else he's got going. But I think the bigger thing is this might be a real job, right? Like it's not yet, and that's what we're kind of saying, I guess. But I think both of us realize, and Isaac as well, like, we're doing this for a reason. Yeah, we're having fun. But Matt, I know like in the future you want to lead people, and I know you already do through other ways, but what you're doing behind the scenes is awesome, right? It's going to inspire other people. And, not everyone knows what he's doing, but I know what he's doing. And I know he's editing, he's doing all these things behind the scenes, put together all this equipment. And it teaches you a lot as a business owner. Sometimes you have to do the work initially and it sucks and it's hard. And I've been through it as a business owner myself, but it's like you kind of want other people to do it and help and do all this stuff. But when you're in the treadmill stage, you kind of have to do it all. You have to set it up in your vision. And then you have other people that you can hire or, kind of come with you and you can lead them, right? So leadership is part of that. So can you speak to your leadership style, Goggins? Because I know you've led people in different ways. How do you see that future of leadership looking for you? Because I know you want employees. What does that look like? And I'm talking 5 years. I know you're going to have something going sooner than that, but let's say in 5 years, where do you want to see this going?
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
yeah,
honestly, like where I'm at today is like, I don't know what this is, if this will turn into something, if it's just like a fun hobby. I don't know if something else I try to develop will turn into something. you know, it's like anytime you have a dream of something you want to create, you wish you had a crystal ball that you could just look into and be like, oh, it's going to be worth it. But there's a million things that can happen in different ways life can unfold. And so like, I don't know. And so you got to just be willing to get on the treadmill and enjoy it. And yeah, you don't know like where you're going to be when you get off that thing, and what you're going to actually ultimately create. But all you can really focus on is like the inputs. So like doing things to stay healthy and to get energy to like motivate yourself towards actually keeping on pushing on your goals. But like you said, the hard thing about any endeavor to create something is you're going to spend a lot of time where you're kind of in it's kind of like a one-man thing, right? Like you're just kind of wrestling with your own doubts and your own, just getting yourself motivated, right? Like pushing yourself to continue to be motivated. So yeah, it's a journey. I think the biggest thing, like when you say what's like your leadership style, how do you, like if you want employees, what do you look for? You need to like, it's all about finding the right people. Like no one builds a business like dragging other people along because it just doesn't work. So like you need to spend time coming up with like, all right, what's the model I'm trying to build here? If I were to have other people along for the ride, how would I motivate them? Like what can you build so that like everybody has buy-in and is like interested in what you're building and is excited about it, and wants to show up and participate just because they can't imagine like not participating. And I think we're still like in that chapter of it of like, okay, what are we going to build? How are we going to get other people excited about what we're building? And like, yeah, how do you get other people on board and how do you like empower them to want to be a part of it? So
I love that answer. No, I
Yeah.
mean, it makes sense. You know, I read a book by Dave Ramsey about entre leadership, and he talked about finding the right people for the bus, right? And where does that person fit? Are they in this spot, this spot, this spot? I think so many people struggle with this part, leadership, hiring. And that's a hard part about business. You can't just like expect people to show up that don't want to be there kind of thing, right? So you need to find the right role, and make sure that the person fits, right? And I agree with Goggins. It's like, man, you can't force, someone to be X. You kind of have to, you have to lead them, but they kind of have to have some of those skills by themselves, and then you help them a little bit. But can you talk a little bit? We've talked a lot about the CEO role you carry, but you're in a new job. I don't know how much you want to talk about that, but what have you learned about small business and like all the things that you're kind of doing? What have you learned in the recent role you took, and maybe using some of those guidelines or new things that you've learned into maybe your own business?
Yeah. I mean, so I was working at Amazon for like 7 years, Amazon Web Services, like as an engineer. And obviously that was like a massive corporation. I was like on a team of 100 people. And they had like a lot of process well understood. They kind of knew the components that drove the business. And people were like largely bought in because even just having a desk there was like seen as a big opportunity, right? Like anyone who was showing up and working there was like, hey, I'm going to put in my hours and this is going to grow my career. And then a couple months ago, I started a new job at a startup where we have like 8 people. And it's like a very AI heavy, came out of like an AI lab in Seattle. The company's called Friday Harbor. We do like artificial intelligence for mortgage underwriting. So it's a pretty like niche case, and it's using a lot of like state of the art technology, like stuff that when I was at Amazon, like you would kind of see in the news, but I wasn't really using directly. And it's incredibly different, right? It's such a small team. You have to make sure like everybody's on board, and also just like each individual is motivated. I think when you're in such an early phase of growth, like every individual that comes and contributes is super meaningful and can like literally change the trajectory of the entire company and product. So everyone's got to be on board. Everyone's got to like, you have to make sure people are like empowered to do the work they need to do, that they're excited about the mission. And I think the thing that has been like a huge impression on me early on is like as the CEO of a small operation like that, you have like you really bring the energy. Like you're the one that is inspiring people so individually and personally because it's such a small team and like the mission. I mean, I feel like you're carrying it on your shoulders pretty much, right? Like if you wake up one day and don't want to go to work, the company's not going to exist, right? Like very, very shortly after that, it just will cease to be. So there's like huge potential and opportunity there. Like if you can find the right people and if you know you have like an opportunity and you can just like run, you can see such huge compounding growth so quickly. And at the same time, it's like if you just stop your efforts, the world just kind of continues on and your mission, your idea ceases to exist, right? So it's just different in that way. Like it's always, you always got to be moving. You always got to be like staying ahead of the curve as much as you can. There's a ton of effort that just goes into like working with your individual customers, making sure that like people using the product that you're getting their feedback and that it's kind of what they expect, or that you're actually like really enabling them and bringing value. So it's different. And it's like, to me, obviously my career goal long-term would be building my own version of something like that, where I feel like I have kind of my vision of what the product is and what I'm building. And I can, do more of like picking a team, building out a team, creating the product. So it's just like, it's been really cool to just be a part of that and like observe it, but also be a member of such a small, fast moving team. Just like using different sides or different parts of my brain, I guess, right? Like you're less of like a one piece of a very large puzzle and you're more of like everything you do can have a big impact and is just, every day is way different. So it's energizing. It's like a fun new chapter. But a consequence of it is like I spent some time after Amazon thinking like, what do I want to build? What could I create? I kind of have lost that because it's like when I'm a member of this small team, like I have to be in. I know that it's like not fair for me to go work this job and not be 100% on board. So I have to make sure like I'm on board, putting in the time, offering all that I can, and then just understand that like I'll get good experience. And then one day if I when my time comes to like really build something on my own, like I'll have more experience to draw on, just be more up to speed with kind of the state of my industry and be ready to go. So it's been a good time.
That's a great answer. I mean, again, it's like you didn't go to a business school to learn how to run a business. You kind of, you're in it. You're like an assistant coach in the NFL who wants to be a head coach, but maybe it takes a few years under, a certain CEO to say, hey, I want to really learn these details, right? And how do I actually do this and execute some of these things? Because in Amazon, you don't get that, right? Like you're so far away from the CEO that, they're not teaching you these ins and outs of small business and how do I do this and that, right? You're kind of just dealing with the corporate crap that we deal with, right? I think that's pretty cool. Have you learned anything new about like funding that you would use in your own world? Or is it more just seeing like how an idea or a product is developed and then how to run with it? Which one is it? Is it like, okay, I learned how they fund these things. I kind of want to use some of those protocols, or is it something different, like more of the product development side?
It's definitely more product development.
Yeah.
So Amazon was great. My role was basically like almost working in like a research lab or something. Like we were building a product, but a lot of my time was spent just like deliberating on what's the best way to do this, like getting people on board, getting people excited about like what we're building so we can, get the team together and then go build for a few months. This is way more like, let's just throw a lot of energy into like the actual building, right? Like the creativity piece. And honestly, like the biggest thing that I've taken away is just how quickly you can build and how much you can build of value when you remove so much of the red tape. And also I've just like, there's way less rules around like what you can use to build. And like, so in today's world where like AI is literally evolving day by day, like we're able to just go use the latest model and, use it against our system and then test it and like figure out how to just make stuff better, like literally as scrappily as we can. So it's like, you don't have to worry about the process as much. And like just seeing that has been really cool. And just seeing like how, just like how it's like any team you join, like seeing how they kind of operate and like how they take all the data that's out there and like figure out the right things to work on. Like what kind of drives priorities day to day. Like how much you build for like a new customer versus how much you try to build like a core product and actually get people to kind of come to your product. And how you also just bring value to a market immediately while also kind of laying the groundwork for like longer term growth. I think that's like a big thing, right? Because like when you're it's such a huge leap to go from like you have this concept of something you think will bring people value, and then suddenly one day you release a product and you actually have users that are paying that you have to keep the lights on for and keep like delivering what they need while also not losing that longer term vision of like, okay, well, what do we think is like the truly disruptive opportunity here, or like the what will bring people more value that they don't even necessarily know they can unlock today in 5 years, while still bringing them value today, right? Because like now you have a product and you have to do right by the people that are using you. So it's really just seeing like how people, or how a smaller team like manages priorities and keeps the ball rolling, while also kind of building for this longer term horizon and keeping like all of your people on board and up to speed with the market you're operating in. So, and I mean, honestly, like there's not really like a secret sauce to it. It's more like just people have to bring energy every day and be like excited to learn and to build. And I think in like any endeavor you do, whether it's like a team and you're a coach, or it's a business or a family or whatever, like that's the secret, right? Is like, how do you get people excited and putting their energy and effort towards contributing in a positive way, and then just making sure everyone is kind of on the same page about what positive contribution looks like, right? Like how do we all make sure we're aligned on what we're building towards?
Yeah,
so
what the role is, right?
Yeah.
Like a father in his household versus, I mean, it's interesting because, I mean, you just got married, right, recently. So I'm sure you're going through a lot of transition, right? Your new business, married, trying to run the podcast, all these things, right? Has there been any moment where you're like, wanted to back away from the podcast? Has it been like, you know what, I got so much new stuff happening. Has it been tough on you in that way? Like, I'm a father of 3. I understand. Like, there's a lot of things that I go through as well. But it's like you also don't want to burn out, right? There's always a line of like, I have this amount of energy to do things, and which ones do I choose first, right? Has it been a little bit of that where you're like trying to find that fire again, right? And trying to, and I understand how this goes because I go through it too, but has it felt a little bit like that? And now you're like, okay, I feel better. Yeah. Okay.
No, 100%. It's like, you have all these different buckets in your life that you want to give your energy to. And it's hard to know when to give energy to which bucket. It's like, I know that making a podcast is fun. Like I like hanging out with you and Isaac and making stuff. I know that like building software is fun. Like I like when you make something that people use and like gives them value. I know that fitness is fun. I know family is one of the most important things of all, right? And it's like, how do you decide which one to wake up each day and put your energy into? And that can be hard when it's like, maybe one feels like it's just taking energy and not giving you any energy back, right? Like, but it's just about like patience and like understanding that like any given day, just because you're not working on one thing doesn't mean that thing is dead. It just means that like maybe, it's not that season yet. Or that, you got to figure out like ways to just give slower energy over a longer period of time.
The slow burn.
Yeah, the 10-year plan. Yeah. Yeah.
The slow burn.
And that's been the thing is because like for me in my career right now, I think pretty much everyone at this point knows, like it's no secret the way that AI is disrupting the world and like very much disrupting software. So I kind of realized like there's this window of time where there's still an opportunity. Like my skill set still helps you leverage AI. I think in 2 years it might not. Like my skill set probably won't matter at that point because it will just, the models will get better and the products will get better and anyone will be able to create software artificially. And so it's like, how can I position, like, it's kind of like, I know that candle's burning quick, right? Like I got to figure out how to bring value there. Like if that's something that I want to do and want to leverage my skills in, that's kind of a ticking clock. So I'm aware that one probably needs more attention right now. Like if I want to build software and make something that actually can bring people value that's like distinct, now's the time to do it. So I've been putting a lot more effort there. But yeah, and it's like, who knows what the future holds. I think that the podcast to me is like something that's just fun and balancing. It's like a good hobby.
Yeah.
So it's important to like keep doing it and keep it like, maybe like we're in a chapter now where like the podcast is something that can give me energy to go do my other business ideas, or to just do my day job right now. Right. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what the future holds, but the nice thing is that I convinced the wife that I could get this thing set up.
Yeah.
The podcast studio set up.
The boss said yes.
Yeah. So we have a studio now, so
no, it's
really
not
going anywhere. Right?
It's really
like it's
nice.
here. Yeah.
I mean, personally, I really appreciate that it's here, right? Like, your basement was cool. The dungeon was cool. But no, it's cool that we can come here and do this stuff. And, and you don't give yourself a lot of credit, Goggins, but people like you, okay? 30-year-olds that are entrepreneurs, they're married, maybe have a kid or two, they have another job, blah, blah, blah. What advice would you give them? Because I think you don't give yourself enough credit. I think you did some stuff that most people would never do, okay? You're taking risks in ways that people are like, wow, I would never even think of that. So I think it's pretty cool. But you said the word balance. I think when you're 30 years old with no kids, there is no balance. I don't think balance exists. You know what I mean? And people talk about this word balance a lot when they're younger, and I laugh because I'm like, when you are 50 or 60, you might find more balance in your life, but there's a time where there is no balance. You are the hardest worker in the room, and older people expect that, right? The young people should be out working the older people. What do you want to say to that 30-year-old? Because I've seen what you've gone through. You're doing things that most people don't even think about in a positive way. It's very cool. But like, what do you want to say to them? Because I know you're very driven. You're internally driven. You are doing things people aren't seeing. Triathlon training with me. That's on top of all the other stuff we've talked about. But just give them some inspiration. What does that look like to you?
Yeah, I think two things come to mind. The first thing I would say is don't sacrifice exercise. Like, don't give up on your body.
Yeah.
Because that's something that so many people fall victim to because they think like, I got to outwork others. This is like a limited opportunity. And then they make decisions that have long-term health consequences because they just work too hard or because they just don't think that like exercise matters. And for me, like, sometimes I have fallen into that pattern, and it's like when I actually exercise every day to the point that like it hurts, it makes everything else a lot easier. And it makes like first of all, it just calms your mind. It's like the classic thing of like, exhaust the body, tame the mind. Like one kind of, you'll get more mental clarity if you spend a good amount of time just beating your body up and working hard and just kind of like limiting the noise.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. But the other one that I would say is find people that see the best in you and like really value those relationships and don't lose sight of those relationships, because in the hustle and bustle of trying to work and build and do all this stuff, it's really easy to you yourself like lose sight of why you're doing it and like who you want to be. And so like, it's important that you have friends and people in your life that see that and like can remind you of that on like the day when you're just like grinding on something you don't really care.
When it sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, I don't care about like I don't care about the grand mission. I don't care
Yeah.
about my goals. It's just like, I just got to get through this.
Yeah.
If you have people that you can see and talk to that like kind of check in and like know you well and know your vision, and just like support you, I mean, that can be like super grounding and just keep you on the right path. So, yeah, it's really all just about the people you surround yourself with, and, you know, making sure you're spending your time on stuff that, will make you healthy long-term, like fitness and relationships. So
That's a great answer. So if a 30-year-old's listening, good people around you,
yeah.
I mean, how many of your buddies, so I guess I could use more personal examples, but like you went to Dartmouth, a lot of these guys are successful. Are most of them into fitness, or, you know, because I assume a lot of them are working pretty good jobs and obviously successful in those ways. Would you say like fitness is a pretty normal thing with your friend group? Is it pretty standard that people are working out, or is it kind of you're the norm? Like you're not the norm. Is that more what you see?
There's a wide variance. Like I
Okay,
know people that work out really hard. Usually it's like the patterns that you develop stay in your life to a degree. It's like people that grew up playing sports, or that like played a sport in college, or that whatever ran a marathon, like that tends to stick because they know like how much it benefits them. So they like really intentionally set aside that time. But I know that, you know, it's not true for everyone. I don't know. I feel like I would guess in general, people that are like super successful and work very hard would tend to be more fit. Especially like these days, because it is so mainstream to like exercise. Like I know my grandpa's generation, like the idea of even going for a run was preposterous there. Like it doesn't even, there's not people telling us we need to do that. But yeah, it's a wide range. And there's definitely certain like walks of life where it's really hard. Like I know if you're going to be a doctor and you do your residency and your med school, and like that's even just more like a physically demanding job to begin with. I think that can be harder to like stay fit or to put time into outside of work. Yeah, and I mean like in software and in engineering, like it's pretty wide range. Like I think there's a lot of people that are like more, I mean, it's a field that's less popular historically with like people that are fit and active, right? Because people that are actually going to their computer more often than not. So yeah, I don't know. It's a range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like everything, right? It's like, but you know, I would say fitness, exercise is so powerful for a person that's trying to be an entrepreneur or trying to do some of the stuff that you're doing, because yeah, the mind is tired. There's no balance. You know what I mean? It's like all the things that could go wrong will go wrong if you don't go work out or do something with nutrition, or, you know, take care of yourself. The stress levels will be crazy, right? And I think that's where the word balance, again, I want to go back to balance. Like when you have little kids, there is no balance. When you want to open a business and be super successful and do all these things, you know, balance, what does that mean, right? Like if I work 80 hours a week and I have little kids, maybe that is where I am at the current time, and that's what balance looks like to me. And I've read a lot on this, but I think it's funny. There's a lot of younger people that they kind of want what the 50-year-old already has, but they don't want to do all the work. They don't want to go through hard weeks. They don't want to give up bowling and golf and some stuff that they do on the extra time they have. And Goggins, you do all the things that a lot of these people should be doing. So how did you learn that that was what you should do? Because that's another thing. Like going to college, you don't really learn that. I don't think it's not what they're teaching. But like how, you know, in your mind or maybe just your habits over the years, you know, you're in a really good position at your age and doing all these awesome things. Like, you know, why are you the way you are, right? Like, why did you develop some of these things that you now carry, your triathlon training, your trying to build a business behind the scenes, you're married, working, you know, obviously you and your wife do a lot of things together and you have time together with her. You're a faith-based man, you're going to church, you're doing these other things, you know, on top of your full-time job. If you add up the amount of hours per week you're putting into all these things, there is no balance, right? There's not a balance of any type, in my opinion, and that's actually a good thing, in my opinion. I hope the internet hears that. I think it's like, yeah, if I want to work 20 hours a week and I want to do all these other things, your business won't be where you want it, right? So, how did you develop some of these things?
Well, I mean, first I'll say, like, I'm so far from perfect. Like,
Yeah,
that,
not saying you're perfect, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
you're doing a lot of things, right? So, and you're the one feeling these things. So it's just interesting to hear, yeah, just where did this come from, right? The habits, how do they form?
yeah. Well, to me, it doesn't feel like I'm doing all that much, honestly.
You're crazy.
But like, I mean, it's all just from like a series of failures. Like, it's what I think so many people who have succeeded say. Like, it's not about how you succeed; it's about how you like bounce back from failure. And so many of like the habits I have in my life today, and like the places where I draw energy and inspiration from, are there because I had periods of my life where they weren't, and I had to go search. And like that applies to my faith. It applies to my job right now. It applies to this podcast studio. It applies to so much, right? Like I've always been, I think, a highly motivated person, and that like I wanted to have a positive impact on the world and like the environments that I was in. And so a lot of the time, like I always knew I wanted to work and I wanted to contribute. But I've like definitely had patterns where like I wasn't drawing energy back into my own life, right? Because I would just like go work and then I would be missing something that would give me energy back. And like in that pursuit of finding, places where I could actually get energy myself, it's like I learned stuff that works and stuff that doesn't work. Like I learned, there were times where I was drinking too much and I was like, well, that's not really something that gives me energy. Or times where I was just going too hard and like realizing that wasn't quite right. So like you live your life and like you realize what's not working, and then you go find things that do work, and you eventually realize like, oh, hey, like when I exercise and when I run, like that, it might suck sometimes, but like that gives me long-term energy, and it's a compounding effect. When I make friends where we're not just drinking, we're actually going and doing stuff, like that is something that gives me energy over time, right? Like when I, just like continuing to experiment and like live and experience things and learn what stuff sticks and what stuff doesn't. And I mean, a huge one for me was a couple of years ago, just developing my own faith and like spending a lot of time discerning that and like going deep on that was like super helpful, just because to me that's like the deepest well of all that I've found. And so like having that grounding force is super even just like critical for me to keep going. So yeah, it's like you learn from your failures and you keep pushing, and you like are receptive to feedback and to acknowledging when things don't work, and like you just kind of keep doing that. And if you give it enough time, you find kind of the right mix of stuff that works for you. And I think like once you have that energy and that foundation, and like you can go each day and pursue things that interest you and excite you, and you're not too attached to the result, you're just doing it because you love it and because you feel called to it, I feel like you're in a pretty good place at that point. And then you just keep kind of rinse and repeat until for as much time as you got, I guess. So yeah. I'm definitely fortunate with where I'm at today, and there's still a lot I want to do. And the world is always changing so fast around you. It's like you think you have it figured out, and then something else happens or something else comes along. And
Let's dive into that quick.
Yeah.
That's a great call. I love that because you've been talking to me, and you're kind of an expert in this, but like AI, engineering, where's the next steps? Things are changing fast. People get a little bit worried, scared, anxious because of all these changes, right? What's kept you like level-headed through this all? Because I'm not in the AI world as much as you, obviously, but I think it'd be fun to hear you kind of talk about why you do feel like AI actually could be beneficial, right? And why maybe it's not such a bad thing that you're dealing with some of the technology you're dealing with. I think people would love to hear that. I've heard you talk a little bit about it, but I think it's kind of cool stuff. So,
yeah, I mean, Well, the first thing that is just crazy, I was looking yesterday and I saw some article that said like a very large percent of adults have now used AI and like use it every day. I think it's like 60% of working adults use AI every day. So we're at the point in like the adoption curve of artificial intelligence where like it's here and it's now just compounding and it's like ingrained into most people's lives. But within the last year, it's like these language models have gotten so good that they've gotten self-correcting enough that like more often than not, the knowledge that they're outputting and the value they're bringing is like more than what a person can like even feasibly do. So it's kind of hit like this inflection point now where it's like, okay, well, traditional things that we offer as human beings, like as intelligent beings, aren't as valuable because there's now like algorithms that can do it better. And so it kind of opens up this whole new world and like set of endeavors that are going to be way more like creatively inspired. Like a podcast I was listening to this morning was talking about like the analogy of the printing press, saying, you know, whatever, a few hundred years ago, everyone was spending their time translating notes by hand, or right, like just writing things up. And then suddenly this machine came that could do it. And people got so much time back because they no longer had to just write. They could focus on the pictures that they were going to put in the newspaper, focus on like how they're going to compile all the information into a story. And we're like at that point now, I think, with general knowledge, like where it's getting to this point where having like the original knowledge and being able to apply it is no longer the limiting factor for us in our careers. It's like the limiting thing now is how do we present that to people? How do we get that to the right people at the right time? And how do we, like how do we actually like, I don't know, improve like the kind of human to human part of it, right? Like how do we use all of this potential to help each other and like bring it to people, right? Because like AI could solve everything, but if it's not presenting it in a way that like people are receptive and can actually help their lives, it's not doing much good, right? So it's going to unlock like a whole new set of, I think, opportunities. And yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. Like it's changing week to week because these models just are like literally getting more powerful with every release.
Could you explain how is it helping you like in your day job? Because this is kind of intriguing to me. Because I know, people are using it in like everyday life, asking it questions, but like, how is it affecting or helping what you do every day in engineering or it's your general job, I should say?
Yeah, I mean, historically, what an engineer does is like they write code and they plan out how they're going to write it, where it's going to live, how it's all going to interface and answer questions, and how it's going to spit stuff out. Now it's like you don't really have to do that. Like there's AI that will definitely write the code for you. That 99% of the time is good. You have to kind of keep an eye on it and make sure it's actually doing the right stuff. But like it's pretty soon like that you're not even gonna have to do that. It's just gonna basically put out what you ask it to put out, and it'll do the planning for you. It'll like architect systems for you. It can kind of control costs for you. So it's like what your job really becomes is, I mean, right now I feel like our job is mostly like customer service, making sure that like people using our platform have what they need to do their jobs, and I mean, it's really like customer service. Like it's like how do you make sure that you can get this powerful entity to people that aren't using it and that like would be able to access it, and like how can you make sure that that you're getting the AI with like just the right kinds of prompts and right kinds of tuning so that it's giving outputs that serve kind of unserved markets or unserved groups. So like I've literally engineers right now are, in my opinion, just like translating language model intelligence into human interpretable platforms, right? Like how do we get the platforms for like someone who's has their job they've been doing forever that kind of has the same inputs, but maybe isn't someone who would use AI naturally. Like how do you get it to them in a form that they are receptive to and that they understand and can use? So yeah, it's like the raw resource is now it's here, like it exists, it's very effective. How do we get it to people that need it and do it securely and do it like in a cost-effective way?
If you were 17 again, with the current technology, would you have gone to Dartmouth to become an engineer, or what would you do now that you know what you know?
The problem is, if I was 17, I wouldn't have listened to like anything I said.
Give your 30-year-old advice to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, think about all the changes, but like, is it, what would you go back and do? How about that?
I think I would have spent, I mean, I did a pretty good job of like spending time exploring and just getting to understand the world. I think that's still like a critical thing for any young people. I think like traveling, learning other languages, just experiencing other cultures and other people in the world is like still really good thing to do. Because it's like, no matter how good the technology gets, you have to have like a reason to apply it to a greater good. And I think like a big inspiration for that is just having like your own humanity and like your own connection to the broader world. But that's more like, I guess, like altruistic. I'm like, if it was more like what's career advice, it's always going to be important that you know how to sell, that you have like a level of empathy for other people, so you know like how to sell them and how to like understand their problems, so you can solve them. So yeah, I mean, I think I would like focus on sales. I'd focus on just like communication.
Would you go back to be an engineer at Dartmouth if you knew this is what would be here at 30 years old?
Probably not.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's
just
interesting to me. Sorry, I'm just.
Well, I only really went to be an engineer at Dartmouth because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. And it was like that was available, and I was always told I'd be a good engineer. And so I was like, okay, well, this is, it's like, if it's a skill set that people are suggesting, I should probably go like figure out why. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have like a good answer for what I would tell myself to do other than just like explore and like have an open mind and learn. And yeah, just like I mean, it's still all like, we live in a society. So like, it's all about like human to human, like interaction and empathy and understanding. So you can like help people. I would love to say I would like go back and be a doctor, but I don't think I can do blood. So
no blood. Okay. So we'll shift away from that. Let's see. Yeah. This sounds crazy. I would have called what you know now, you would have gone back as your 17-year-old self and become a priest. What do you think?
I don't know if I could have gone through that walk of life.
Yeah.
I think that I feel very called to like have a family.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, not to say that like being a priest, you don't have a family. You have, the church and, but I don't think I would feel as called to that. I definitely think there's ways you can kind of spread faith and understanding and, those meaningful messages just as like a member of a church, which I try. I mean, I'm still learning how to do that. So, yeah, I don't know.
Tough question to answer. I'm just throwing out stuff at you.
Well, I'm only 30, so I'm like, I could still, on the drop of a.
Well, you could become a deacon. You could, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do and still have kids, right? Yeah. And that's always something to consider. But no, it's just fun to hear like, man, your world is changing quickly, but you seem very very calm about it, right? Like you're not worried about it. Maybe that's a bigger message is like, if you're listening to Matt, he's not concerned about the technology AI. He's actually just embracing it and moving forward with it. And I think, you don't listen to the media, don't listen to some of the craziness where, and I'm not saying maybe jobs are getting changed or shifted or whatever it may be, but if you keep yourself moving in the right direction, and Goggins, you can add to this, but like, there's always value for a person that wants to work hard and wants to learn and wants to be, part of society and do good things. So, I think our nation needs to hear a little bit of this kind of stuff. Like, don't be scared of the AI stuff. And, you know what I mean? Because if you watch the media or you read some of the stuff out there, it's, I don't know. To me, it's a lot of stuff that's trying to tell us that, humans aren't that, we don't need to work that hard, and you need more balance in your life. Stop doing all these well, wait a second. Like, it really does depend on your age and what you're doing and what stage you're in. So it's fun to hear Matt talk about it just because he's in this world of AI engineering. He's kind of seeing all the new things. But I'm glad to hear you're not like anxious or worried about, that part of it. And that's kind of cool to hear, honestly, from my end, because I'm not dealing with it as much. So I don't know if you want to add to that, but
Yeah, I don't see much reason to be anxious, because it's like, I feel like it's pretty known that technology is going to always evolve and get more powerful. And there's always going to be people that are afraid of it or that have conspiracies about it.
conspiracy theories are wild. Anyways, sorry.
Well, it's like Joe Rogan, his favorite thing to say is that we're building the creature or species or whatever that's ultimately going to replace us. I mean, it's interesting to think about, but it's like when I try
Do you
to get back to...
disagree with him? Because I mean, you're one of these people who's dealing with this stuff a lot. Is he way off? Like, just be honest. I think he's way off.
I don't know. I do think there's definitely, I don't know if it's like the main effect of technology, but a big side effect of technology is it removes a lot of like people's kind of human incentives, because problems that like historically you have to solve yourself and you have to kind of get yourself prepared to be able to solve just continue to go away with time. So you can kind of lose some of your humanity because of that. Like, you don't have to worry about how you're going to get, or, a lot of us don't have to worry about how we're going to get food, how we're going to get around, how we're going to travel. So like, that's definitely one outcome of it, but I don't think we're replacing ourselves. I think if anything, we're just, I don't know, living in a free market. It's like, and you got to remember, like, a lot of the things you actually hear are just like hype or marketing, or like a small percent of people will actually encounter. So yeah, I mean, who knows? If we do replace ourselves, I'll probably be long gone by the time that happens.
Yeah,
so
yeah. You
it's
don't
like,
see that happen.
I don't want to
anytime
worry
soon.
about that too much. Yeah.
The Terminator situation comes out, and we're Arnold Schwarzenegger's coming at us. Yeah, we're probably in trouble at that point, right? But
yeah, but you got to try not to be anxious about stuff. It's like that's. I mean, it's biblical. It's like,
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's just funny watching the news. They can make anything, a scary situation, right? But AI with everything, it's like in my world and training, it's if you can't write a program by yourself and you need to count on AI to do it for you, you're not you're in the wrong business. And that's what I would say to anyone. It's like, and engineering is different, but I think in any industry, if you can't do these things by yourself, and you need AI to do it for you, you're probably doing the wrong job or the wrong thing, right? You could use AI to help you. And this is a message to even kids in school. Like, if you're counting on AI to do the work for you, you're missing out on what's the point of school, right? You're not doing what you're supposed to do. And you might not think that's cheating, but I think it is, right? Like, I think you need to use AI in a certain way, yes, but you need to do the work. And if you don't want to do the work, you're going to turn into a person that doesn't know how to go to a job and do hard things. And Matt and I talk about that kind of stuff a lot. Like, his triathlon training's hard, but he's got to show up and do it. AI can't do that for him. And these are situations where you have to learn. You have to go through these things yourself. You can't rely on technology. You can't read a book and it does it for you. You can't, yeah, that's great. My buddy did it, but like, did I do it? Right. And if you don't do it yourself, I'm telling you right now, you're not going to feel what it is to be a great human. You need to go through these experiences and hard things and everything. School is one of them, but there's many other ways to be great. And I think too many people rely on AI to make, I'm so smart and all. Well, that's not true, right? Like, you need to be doing the work yourself. You need to really learn, and I teach athletes this, right? Going through the process of things to become great. Well, to become a great student, you have to go through a process of learning. You have to do the work yourself. You have to kind of embrace some of that stuff. Like I teach my 8-year-old, 6-year-old, 4-year-old, you have to read. If you don't read, what's going to happen to you, right? Like I get to deal with these younger kids who get to go through this situation of, well, if I don't read, well, when I'm 20, what's going to happen? So we're living in a world where some parents, they let their kids on technology all the time. They don't go home and read books. They're playing video games. They're, and again, I'm not saying that you can't do that, but if you're not reading books, it's pretty obvious what's going to happen to you when you're 20 years old. There's going to be a problem. You can't rely on AI to do things for you at that point, right? You have to be capable yourself and then move forward with that. So, speaking to the younger parents with young kids, it's like, man, you got to really focus on human development has never changed. Technology, AI, sometimes actually makes it bad for kids, right? Like it's, and I've actually looked at some studies that this generation of young children will be the first one with worse test scores than their parents because of what we're talking about, because all the great things we've said about AI technology, yes, they are true, but kids have to do the work. And if they don't want to do the work and use AI correctly, it's going to turn into a generation of kids that don't know how to do anything hard or don't know how to figure out situations and we're going to be in a very interesting position, I think, but you can dive into that too.
No, I think that's spot on. And I think it's it's true. Like it's basically, we're living in a world where there's been so much influence on young people to try to turn them into consumers. Like a lot of social media companies, their defining metrics have been like, how much time can we get people to spend consuming? And I think a result of that is you wind up with a lot of people who define themselves by what they've consumed rather than defining themselves by what they've done. And so, you get to this world where someone watches the Olympics and sees something great and they define that day by, oh, I watched this great thing that someone else did, right? Yeah. And it's that line of thinking that, it kind of causes like a loss of humanity, because like we're not meant to just sit there and consume, definitely not at the scale that we've been consuming thanks to like technology.
Yeah.
It's important to find ways to kind of recalibrate ourselves, right? To be like, I'm not want to just consume, like how can I actually create and like build and participate. And AI is like it's the ultimate horizon of that consumption, where it's like, oh, well now, hey, we have something that can statistically think better than us. So I don't have to actually think. Yeah. I can just consume what this thing thinks for me. Yeah. And then I just become a proxy to whatever AI is doing. So it's like, it's definitely a weird time. But I mean, like Kyle, to your point, it's like, how can we get ourselves, but also like young people and inspire other people to use, like not to just completely like condemn AI, but to like, to refocus and like be, ground themselves in like, I'm not just a consumer, I'm a creator, I'm a human being, and I have like my own purpose, and I should be setting my own goals and creating my own inspiration and
use
not just
AI
consuming.
to like help that, right?
Yeah.
I think that's perfect, right? Like AI is awesome for that. Like it's actually incredible. Like you can do all these amazing things, but if you can't come up with your own ideas, just again, faith is a big part of this, right? Like just getting yourself to come back to who am I and why am I doing these things that I'm doing? And the book Start With Why, right? You maybe read that book, right? That's a very famous book. Start with why. Why am I choosing X? Why am I going to school for this? Because, a lot of people go to college, or a lot of people choose things to do just because someone else said it, or they think they're going to make a lot of money, or go down the list, right? Unfortunately, what we see, I mean, this is my experience, but people get to a certain age and they're like, why am I doing this? Right? Yeah. What am I doing? Like, and it's incredible. It's like, I train a lot of athletes, and, it's funny. It's a lot of times the athlete maybe at some point was told, hey, maybe you should do this sport by someone. and they're talented and all these things. There's a 50-50 split of at 18 to 25 years old, if they are glad they did it versus kind of like, why did I do that? You know, mad at themselves a little bit. The ones that love it, that makes perfect sense. You should stick with it. The ones that are like, why did I do that? It is an incredible question. Like, start with why you started that sport, and then why are you still doing it? And why did you go to college to do it? Because unfortunately, I'd say a lot of the kids that I've trained, it's like, I think the reasons they stick with certain things are not because they want to. It's because of maybe external pressures or there's some other reasons, right? So anyways, just always start with why you pick something and then move from there, right? And I know you already said like kind of your experience, but it's kind of cool. Like Matt, you're choosing what you want to do. To me, that's incredible, right? It's because some people take until they're 50 to figure that out, right? So the famous line is, you know, there's two great days in your life: the day you were born and the day you figure out why.
Yeah, I never heard that one.
That's one of my and if people, if they never, and the day you're born is amazing, but if you never figure out why you were born, and that's the point, is looking at that every day and saying, well, why am I here, right? Like, and faith in God is a big part of that, obviously, but you need to look at yourself. Why am I doing all the things I do, right? And when you figure that out, when you figure out why I'm here, it like changes the whole perspective of life. Like Kyle, you know, you guys know me as trainer, podcast, this, that. But you know, why I'm here is not anything to do with, I mean, I love training people and I love, you know, all the things that I do, you know, but when I wake up, I'm inspired because of my faith and I'm reading the Bible every morning and I'm really into that right now. And, you know, I don't go around telling people this, but like, why am I here? Well, you know, training is a side product of who I've become, but it's not who I am, right? So, and I'm trying to work on that more, right? And everyone's got their own story, but the more I've realized that, like, wow, this is who I am and why I'm here, and I'm here to raise my children and be a great father and be a great husband, and all the other stuff people see. They're like, well, you're really in shape. I just turned 40, fitness, you know, all this stuff. I don't even think about that. You know, I just enjoy exercise, Matt. And it's like, that's not why I wake up every morning. That's not the most important thing. And I think people get that confused, right? Like and that's the whole marketing. That's the whole, right? That's the whole thing that people want you to think is, yeah, you know, fitness, that's everything. You know, but to be in shape is not the most important thing in life. It's to really know why you're here. And then from there, you pick your habits of, fitness is important, right? And all the stuff is important, but that's just my 2 cents on that. I just think that matters, right? So,
yeah, I mean, it's powerful and like it's liberating. Like if you understand why and you're not asking yourself that question or just looking to fill time, it's like you free yourself from so much fear and anxiety because like you have, I mean, if you can truly spend time each day reflecting on why and like growing a deep connection to your why, it's like you don't have to worry, right? Because you're like, whatever the future holds or whatever happens to me, like I know my purpose, I have an understanding of my meaning, and I can just pursue it with like all my heart and actually, you know, realize my potential and just enjoy the journey. And it frees you from so many questions. But I think that's an awesome quote. The two most important days, the day you're born and the day you figure out why. And it's also just like, I think a lot of people get anxious because they're like, well, I don't know why. And it's like, you know, you can feel like you're just stuck kind of waiting for this epiphany of like, oh, one day it'll make sense.
that's fair.
Yeah. But I think like something that's helped me is just talking to other people about like why they do what they do. And then also just having dedicated time in my schedule where I can just go sit and, you know, enjoy like peace and quiet and like spend some time reflecting where it's like intentional time and like actually peaceful time and not like anxious time, right? So like if you put it in your schedule of like, oh, like for me it's on Sunday I go to church and then like I try to go to adoration like as much as, you know, let's say once a week you set up time to go to adoration and just kind of sit in silence. Like just having those times on your calendar where you know that you're going to just focus on like being present and kind of reconnecting with your why or like your inner monologue or whatever, like having that time I think is like important, right? It's really to help you stay grounded and like calibrated as you go about making decisions. And I think like for me, something in my life I didn't have for a long time. Like I wasn't praying, I wasn't spending time kind of in or discerning or reflecting or just being, right? And I think that's when things can, like the wheels can kind of fall off the bus, or you can kind of get out of whack, or you start like chasing the wrong things because you don't regularly kind of check in with yourself and like reevaluate, like what are my priorities here? What is my why? What are my goals? What's actually helping me to be who I want to be, and what's getting in the way of that? So yeah, it can be very, I think, powerful and freeing to spend time focusing on that.
Could you explain adoration more and what you do? I know obviously you go to church, but because maybe some people listen, they're like, yeah, one, I don't go to church. Two, no idea what adoration is. And three, I don't know if you want to cover more, but what do you do for praying? Like again, this episode is meant to be about Matt, and I think there's a lot of reasons he is who he is, but I think these are intriguing parts of him. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I actually was introduced to adoration by my wife, who's been, very connected with her Catholic faith like her whole life. But it's basically most Catholic churches they'll just be open, right? They'll have, you can go into the church and you can just be, and you can just pray. And a big part of the Catholic faith is that they'll actually have like the Eucharist present in the church. So, you can be present with Jesus. I think that piece for Catholics is like really beautiful. I think it can intimidate people who like aren't Catholic or feel like they don't have that connection piece. So what I would say is just like, to me, the core of adoration is that you can just be present in prayer and in silence. And also a cool part of it is that you're around other people who are also there in the church to pray and to be present. And I think that is cool, like the community in it, like being both with yourself in silence and in prayer, but also being with others who are also in prayer. So you kind of can feel the community and like the depth of kind of the shared experience of that prayer. But yeah, I mean, I just think the big thing about it is that it's always available, like 24 hours a day. But more so for me, it's just like you can put it on your calendar and be like, I'm going to go and actually pray for an hour here. Yeah, and another cool thing is like, so usually we'll go for an hour, and Hannah's a lot better about it than I am. I go like probably once or twice a month, but you're there long enough that like you can actually get to a place where your thoughts quiet, right? Like it's not just like a couple minutes of prayer, it's an hour. So you have to spend real time getting to like a depth and reflecting, or just kind of being in peace and in silence. So it's nice. It's a good change of pace from the rest of the time you spend awake, where you're just, it's so easy to just wake up, get a cup of coffee and go. But yeah, it's important to also just have time where you sit down and just stop and just let the dust settle. So
that's amazing, dude. I mean, it's stuff that more people, just hearing that, right? Just getting it out there that people should at least consider something like that. I think that's really good, right? Like a form of meditation. A lot of people talk about meditation, but I think that's pretty cool to think about it like, hey, get me at the church, getting my mind focused on something great. And silence in general is kind of a lot of people can't sit in silence in our culture. Yeah. So even at your own home, like it's hard to sit in silence, right? Yeah. So if anything, it just allows you to kind of slow down, right? Just like, I would actually see this like, you go to, your mom and dad's house that you grew up in, TV's always on, radio's on. I go to my brother's house, right? 2 young kids, they're flying around. There's constant noise. I come to my own home, right? Again, I have 3 daughters. It's always kind of busy, busy, busy. You kind of need an environment where you shift into, there is no sound. It's just silent. And I feel peace from that. Same as what you're saying. It's like when I leave my training day, I get in my car, Matt, and there's no music for 10 minutes. You drive home and it's just quiet. Yeah. Because I know when I get home, it's like, whoa, it's going to be, obviously there's going to be noise and there's going to be constant stimulus. So, I think that's a cool message to kind of send to people. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like what you're saying, it's important to just be like comfortable in silence. And I remember like when Hannah and I first started dating, like I didn't realize it, but like I had gotten to a point where I was never silent. Like because I had been living in Boston for years and working and spending time with friends. And it's like, you get your body in these cycles where it's so used to like stimulus. And like, as soon as it's quiet, it's like, oh, let's put music on. Let's put the radio on. Let's talk about something. And yeah, like actually introducing more prayer and silence and moments of peace and just like appreciating that and just being, I think it's just like good for your nervous system to just like have those moments where you just settle. And with adoration specifically, one other thing I want to say that is really cool to me about it is just thinking about like all of the number of people around the world that participate in that, and also the centuries or millennia of people practicing that, and like think about all the different problems and stresses and anxieties people have brought to that setting, and that they've just kind of sat through and like prayed through and found peace through. So it's like cool the history of it, and like knowing how many people have been helped by that practice, I think is really cool.
That's cool from the Catholic perspective, right? I mean, you think about World War II and people are sitting in Poland or, whatever spot you want to talk about. That's a cool way to say it actually, right?
Yeah.
Because we think our problems are big here. It's like there's been bigger problems, and especially around the world, churches, whatever you want to call it. But I guess you put life in perspective that way, it's pretty easy to feel okay about yourself, right? Like,
it's gonna be okay.
We have it okay here in America. But I don't know if you want to add anything else, Goggins. I think I ran out of questions, but I think it's pretty cool to be able to see what you've been through and your journey, and kind of get your story out there on a podcast. I mean, we've talked obviously through different podcasts and different things we've done, but I think it's important for anyone that's like trying to do something like Matt, or maybe you're not, but maybe you just want to hear a story of a guy that's trying to do a lot of things, and then maybe there's not a lot of balance, right? Like that's kind of the point. Like he has good balance and a great life, but he's working hard, and there's behind the scenes things that, I know he's doing that are amazing. So maybe it gives you some hope to do it too, right? So I appreciate everything here, Matt.
No, I appreciate you, Kyle, keeping on pushing the podcast. Like with someone we got to keep putting energy into, and keep trying to help people, trying to create something that can bring value to people that we can enjoy doing. Gonna have to interview you next time. Get some more.
It's a shorter interview.
You got a lot to talk about. So Kyle, if you were going back, what would you study? Would you study artificial intelligence?
Yeah. Well, obviously I would, yes. No, that would be fun, but I really appreciate, all this, and, like Matt said, this can be my closing, I guess, but this is more than just, it's a hobby, but it's something that's very satisfying. I'm very grateful for what we've done, and I'm not saying we need 1 million people to listen to this, but there's a lot of reasons to do things in life. And we had that quote from earlier where, the two most important days, the day you're born and the day, you figure out why. I think this is this podcast for us, at least, it's a way to help people, and it's a way to, give them different pieces of advice, and maybe you take it your own way, right? You don't have to become what Matt is or what I am or Isaac or anything, right? But for me, why do I do this? It's not for money. It's not for fame. It's not, any of those things. It's, I truly think this is a tunnel, or, a way we can go with things where people can hear good things. And that's what matters to me, in my life. And I know it matters to Matt and Isaac. So that's why I do it every time we do it. I'm like, well, I really want to be here and try to help someone. So, and not in a therapist way. I'm talking, just like, hopefully they hear something that really might actually help them. So,
yeah, I love that. We'll stay grounded in the why and just have a good time, and see what we can build. I think a lot of great stuff to come. So it's gonna be a fun journey.
All right, man. Too easy.